Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi, edited by Adil Falahi. Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Tabi, who is better known as Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi, was born in Guzia, a town in Hijaz, in 392 after Hijrah, corresponding roughly to 1002 Common Era. But he grew up in Darjijan, a large village to the southwest of Baghdad, where his father was the Imam, who led the prayers and addressed the congregation on Fridays for over 20 years. This tells us that Al-Khatheeb was brought up in a family of learning. He showed much promise at an early age. Indeed, he learned the Quran and its different methods of recitation at an early age. When he was 14, he began a study of Hadith under a number of scholars, many of whom were resident in Baghdad. But he was also keen to study under visiting scholars. Baghdad was still a center that attracted numerous scholars from all over the Muslim world. Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi was keen to learn from them their books and obtained the certification of many of these scholars. They had a large number of books which they were able to teach, and Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi was keen to obtain these books. He would borrow books to copy them in his own fine handwriting. That enabled him to have one of the largest private libraries of his time. Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi did not confine himself to the great opportunity life in Baghdad offered him to pursue his studies. He started to travel to nearby cities and villages to meet scholars and learn from them. When he was 20, he traveled to the two other seats of learning in Iraq, Kufa and Basra. But even then, he was keen to achieve what is better and more varied in education. So he traveled in 415 to Naisapur, which was renowned as a center of research and intellectual pursuit, as well as Azadabad, Hamdan, Sawa and Arai. 4 years later, he started on another journey to the east, when he traveled to Isfahan, where he was welcomed by its great scholar Abu Nuaym, who granted him full access to his own books and those of other scholars. Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi settled in Baghdad between 423 and 440, when he wrote some of his books, including the History of Baghdad, his best history book. After 440, Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi traveled several times to Damascus before finally settling there in 451. At the time, he was a recognized top scholar. In Damascus, he was able to organize his own circle in which he taught and to write some of his books. However, his scholarship was not particularly welcomed by the Fatimi rulers, who considered killing him. But one of the Alawi nobility covered him with his own protection. The Fatimi, who were Shia, could not refuse to honor this protection. Nevertheless, Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi decided to travel from there to Shur in Lebanon in 459. He stayed there until 462, when he went back to Baghdad, visiting Tripoli and Aleppo on his way. Now, back in Baghdad at the age of 70, Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi steered away from the established school. He had his own circle in Al-Mansur Mosque and also taught in his own home. This was partly due to his desire to spare himself any involvement in controversial issues. In Ramadan the following year, that is 463, he fell ill. He donated all his wealth, which came to 200 dinars, that is the gold currency at the time, to scholars of Hadith. He also made his library an endowment for students, putting it in the custody of Abul Fazl ibn Hayrun. But most of his books were consumed by a fire not long afterward. Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi died toward the end of the same year, and his funeral was attended by a large number of eminent personalities in Baghdad. Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi was a prolific author. He wrote no less than 86 books. Of his 37 were on the various disciplines in the study of Hadith, with the exception of the history of reporters. He also wrote 25 books of history, including those concerned with reporters of Hadith. His other books include 14 on different subjects of fiqh and its basic principles. Two of his books are concerned with the essentials of faith and 3 with literature. Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi gave much attention to explaining the importance Islam attached to the pursuit of knowledge, as it considered it a duty of every Muslim. In his book Travel for Learning Hadith, Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi explains that efforts made in pursuit of Hadith learning and meeting scholars of Hadith are well rewarded, as they represent fulfillment of an Islamic duty. Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi has demonstrated a thorough insight in the way learning and academic achievement should be pursued. He made it clear that it is important to start early in life, because what is learned when one is young remains well engraved in one's mind. Moreover, if one leaves learning until one is a grown up, it is often the case that one might feel embarrassed to learn from a scholar who is younger than one. That leads to abandoning the attempt to seek knowledge. It is important, as Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi makes clear, to study the Hadith thoroughly in order to be able to ascertain its meaning and its application to questions that people may have or experience. When a scholar of Hadith studies fiqh, he spares himself the criticism that he lacks in-depth understanding. Hence, scholars of Hadith should allocate some of their time to understanding and acquiring a broader scope in Islamic discipline. They must not be mere records. While it is important to commit certain matters to memory, such as the Quran and the text of Hadith, studying the meaning of these and the acquisition of a good insight in them is essential. Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi was able to acquire a vast amount of knowledge and to study in depth various disciplines. Hence, he was able to rewrite and reorganize much of the subject matter of various disciplines to make it easier for younger students to achieve their goals. This skill of reorganization and reclassification has been his great point of strength, and his feat was followed by many later scholars. Our scholar comes strongly in favor of writing down all branches of knowledge, including Hadith. In his book on this point, Taqeed Ul-Ilm, he reconciles the Hadith, which allow the writing down of the Prophet's statements, and those which order Muslims not to write anything of what the Prophet said. He compares these and studies them thoroughly, coming in the end strongly in favor of writing hadith down. He then goes into detail of how and what to write, stressing the importance of accuracy so that no one is misled into holding a false notion or a view which makes lawful what is unlawful or vice versa. Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi stresses the importance of giving practical credence to what one has learned. He makes it clear that when a scholar learns something, he should implement it in practical life. Otherwise, the credibility of a scholar is called into question. In connection with that, he denounces the pursuit of learning in order to make a profession out of it, seeking either reputation or wages. He makes it clear that this applies particularly to people who learn the Quran for such purpose. The Quran should be learned in order to conduct one's worship well and to learn what God wants us to do and to put that into effect. That is the way to earn God's pleasure and His reward. He also takes care to point out many other issues that are relevant to the pursuit of learning. Among these are the approaches scholars follow in order to make their pursuit properly organized. He also speaks about the need to add a humorous dimension in a session of learning in order to encourage students and the need to continue one's pursuit of learning. He speaks of the student's freedom to choose from whom to learn and stresses the importance of having as many teachers as possible. All this goes to show that Al-Khatheeb Al-Baghdadi was not merely a scholar of great knowledge, but also one who attended much to methods and approaches of education. May God bless his soul. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.